My friends, Dr. Bonechill here. And tonight I'm not just sharing stories, I'm sharing a confession. There are truths out there, you see, that claw at the edges of your sanity. Truths that unravel the cozy blanket of what you believe is real. We spend our lives building walls brick by careful brick around our fears, around the chaos. We tell ourselves that the monsters are in the movies, that the darkness stays in the shadows. But what if those walls are just illusions? What if the cracks are already there, spiderwebbing through the plaster of our everyday lives? We've all been there, haven't we? Scrolling through endless profiles, searching for connection, for a spark, for someone to share a laugh with, a silent moment. We click, we swipe, we message, all hoping to find that one person who understands, who sees us. It's supposed to be a game, a modern dance of hearts and algorithms. But what if, beneath the surface of those curated smiles and clever bios, something else lurks? Something ancient, something hungry, something that preys on that very human need for companionship? What if the digital threads we weave to connect us are in fact ensnaring us in a web far more sinister than we could ever imagine? This isn't a gift I'm offering tonight, a collection of macabre delights to send a shiver down your spine. No, this is a burden, a terrifying revelation. These aren't just creepy tales. They're echoes of the profound and unsettling reality that sometimes the things we seek the most can become the very instruments of our undoing. Have you ever truly stopped to consider the unspoken pact you make when you reach out into the digital ether, inviting a stranger into your life? What if, in that desperate search for connection, you invite something far worse? Before we dive into the chilling depths of these true accounts, I've got a small favor to ask. A quick stop at the digital crossroads. If these stories resonate, if they send a shiver down your spine and leave you looking over your shoulder, then please hit that like button. It helps Dr. Bonechill reach more souls who crave the dark truth. And while you're at it, subscribe to the channel. We're so close to reaching 10,000 subscribers, and every click brings us closer to shining a light, however dim, on the true horrors that lurk just beneath the surface. Finally, after you've heard what I have to say, please comment your thoughts or experiences below. Let me know what sent chills down your spine, what made you question everything, your shared fear, your shared unease. That's what keeps this unsettling conversation alive. The screen glowed, a pale blue beacon in the otherwise dim living room. It was another Tuesday night, another endless scroll through faces, each promising something: adventure, comfort, a fleeting connection. My apartment, a modest 2-bedroom, in a quiet suburban cul-de-sac, felt too large, too silent. The scent of stale coffee hung in the air, a testament to countless lonely evenings spent hunched over my phone. I lived in Meadowbrook, a town so unremarkable it practically blended into the background noise of existence. Rows of identical houses, manicured lawns, the comforting drone of leaf blowers on Saturday mornings. It was the kind of place where nothing truly bad ever happened, a sleepy hollow of predictable routines, or so I thought. Then I saw her. Her profile picture was striking, almost impossibly perfect. Long, dark hair framed a face that seemed to capture the very essence of serenity. Her smile was soft, gentle, and her eyes, even in the grainy digital image, held a profound depth. Her name was Alara. No last name, just Alara. Her bio was sparse. Lover of forgotten things, seeker of quiet beauty. Intrigued by the enigmatic simplicity, I swiped right. A match. My phone buzzed, a tiny tremor in the vast emptiness of my evening. We started talking, slowly at first, then with increasing frequency. Her messages were elegant, thoughtful, almost poetic. She spoke of old books, moonlit walks, and the subtle melancholy of twilight. It was a stark contrast to the usual sup, or Netflix and chill, I was accustomed to. She was different, refreshingly so. We talked for days, then weeks, never quite committing to meeting. There was a delicate dance, a mutual hesitation that felt oddly comforting. It was as if we both recognized the fragile magic of our digital connection and were wary of shattering it with the blunt force of reality. Then came the photo. It was late, past midnight, when her message popped up. A picture of an antique locket. It was exquisite, intricate, made of tarnished silver with tiny, almost imperceptible etchings along its surface. "I found this today," she wrote. "It feels significant. Do you ever feel drawn to objects, as if they hold a story only you can hear?" My pulse quickened, not because of the locket itself, but because of the sheer, uncanny coincidence. Just that afternoon, rummaging through a forgotten corner of my grandmother's attic, I had found an identical locket. Not similar, not almost, but identical. The same intricate etchings, the same peculiar clasp. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Was this a test? A bizarre trick? I sent her a photo of my own locket, the one I'd just unearthed, sitting on my worn wooden desk. The moment I pressed send, her reply was instantaneous, almost as if she'd been waiting, watching. "Oh," she wrote. "So you feel it too, then?" That was the night the strangeness truly began. The locket became a silent companion. I started wearing it, a cool weight against my skin. It felt right, almost as if it had always belonged there. But with it came dreams. Vivid, unsettling dreams. Not nightmares, not exactly, but more like memories that weren't my own. I saw old houses with peeling paint, heard hushed conversations in languages I didn't understand, felt the brush of silk against my cheek. And in the center of these fragmented visions, always, was a woman with dark, flowing hair and eyes that held the same serene depth as Ilara's. During the day, subtle things shifted. The ordinary became less ordinary. My usually placid cat Mittens began to stare at empty corners, her fur bristling. Objects in my apartment would subtly rearrange themselves. A book I'd left on the coffee table would appear on the shelf. A mug I'd used would be in the sink, even though I swore I'd left it on the counter. Each time I'd dismiss it as my own absent-mindedness, a trick of the light, a lingering fatigue. But the unease simmered, a low, persistent hum beneath the surface of my consciousness. One evening, Ilara finally suggested we meet. "There's a quiet little cafe on Elm Street," she messaged. "Tomorrow, 7 p.m. My heart hammered against my ribs. After weeks of digital intimacy, the prospect of a real-life encounter was exhilarating, terrifying. I wore the locket. It felt like a talisman, a connection to the strange, beautiful woman I was about to meet. I arrived early, nursing a lukewarm coffee, my eyes scanning the entrance. People came and went, their faces blurring into a continuous stream. 7 o'clock. Came, then 7:15. No Ilara. My phone was silent. Panic began to claw at my throat. Had I been stood up? Was this some cruel prank? Just as I was about to give up, my phone buzzed. It was Ilara. "I'm so sorry," her message read. "Something came up, an emergency. I can't make it, but thank you for understanding." My heart sank. Disappointment washed over me, heavy and cold. But then, a strange feeling began to creep in. A lightness, almost a relief. It was as if a great weight had been lifted. I put my phone down, a half-eaten croissant, forgotten on the table. That night, the dreams intensified. They were no longer fragmented. I was in them. I was the woman with the dark hair, walking through a moonlit garden, the scent of night-blooming jasmine heavy in the air. I felt the cool weight of the locket against my skin, its familiar contours mirroring the one I wore in waking life. And then I saw him, a man tall and indistinct, his face shrouded in shadow. He reached for me, his hand outstretched, and a profound, desperate terror seized me. I woke with a gasp, my sheets tangled, my body slick with sweat. The next day, something shifted. The subtle occurrences became less subtle, more deliberate. I found my wallet on the kitchen counter, open, with a faded photograph of a woman I didn't recognize tucked inside. She looked strangely familiar, her eyes holding a similar unsettling depth to Ilara's. That same afternoon, I was watching TV when the screen flickered, and for a split second, an image flashed. The antique locket, spinning slowly, then fading to black. I tried to remove the locket. It was stuck. Not tangled in my shirt, not caught on anything. It was simply fused to my skin. I pulled. I twisted. I even tried to pry it open, but it wouldn't budge. A chilling realization dawned on me. The locket wasn't just an object I wore. It was part of me now. The digital messages from Alara continued, but they became stranger, more unsettling. She started talking about things I hadn't told her, details about my day, my thoughts, my anxieties. "I feel your unease," she messaged one morning. "Don't worry, it will pass. We are connected now." It was as if she was inside my head, privy to my innermost thoughts. I felt a prickle of genuine fear, a primal alarm bell ringing in the back of my mind. I tried to block her, to delete the app, to sever the connection, but it was impossible. The app wouldn't delete. Her messages kept appearing even when I tried to log out. Her profile, her face, her serene, unsettling smile seemed to be burned into the very fabric of my phone. One night, I woke to a sound, a soft rhythmic clicking. It was coming from the locket. I reached for it, my fingers trembling, and as I touched its cold surface, the locket opened. Inside, where I expected to find a faded photograph, was nothing. Just a void, a swirling darkness that seemed to pull at my very consciousness. As I stared into it, I saw a flicker, a momentary image of Alara's face, her smile widening, revealing something sharp, something predatory. The woman in my dreams was me. Or rather, I was her. The locket was a conduit, a vessel. And Alara, the ethereal woman on the dating app, wasn't just some stranger I matched with. She was the one who had worn the locket before, the one who was trapped within its cold embrace. And now, she was reaching out, not for connection, but for release. And I was her ticket out. The beautiful, serene smile in her profile picture now haunted my waking hours, a chilling testament to the unseen forces that had found their way into my quiet suburban life, thanks to a simple swipe right. Meadowbrook, a town of peace and predictability, had become my personal purgatory. And I, the unwitting host, was tethered to a digital ghost, the locket a cold, silent anchor to my increasingly terrifying reality. My apartment, a mirror image of countless others in the sprawling suburbs of Oakwood, always felt like a temporary stop. Beige walls, standard-issue appliances, a view of meticulously mown lawns and identical mailboxes. It was a place to sleep, to eat, to exist. Nothing more. My life, much like my apartment, felt carefully curated to be unremarkable. I worked in accounting, a job that rewarded precision and predictability. My days were a string of numbers, my evenings a quiet descent into the digital world, searching for a spark, a connection that might ignite something beyond the mundane. That's how I found myself, one particularly dreary Wednesday evening, swiping through profiles on a dating app, feeling the familiar hum of desperation beneath the surface of my casual boredom. Her name was Lilith. Her profile picture showed her laughing, head thrown back, a genuine, unforced joy radiating from the screen. She had fiery red hair, a scattering of freckles across her nose, and eyes that sparkled with an almost reckless abandon. Her bio was short, enigmatic, collector of whispers, believer in echoes. It was unusual enough to pique my interest, a sharp contrast to the generic platitudes I usually encountered. I swiped right, a faint flicker of hope stirring in my chest. We matched. Our initial conversations were exhilarating. Lilith was quick-witted, articulate, and possessed a mischievous sense of humor that perfectly complemented my own dry wit. She spoke of old forgotten songs, the secret language of birds, and the way shadows stretched long and thin in the dying light. It was refreshing, a breath of fresh air in the stagnant pool of my routine. We messaged late into the night, sharing jokes, anecdotes, and even some of our deeper fears. There was a raw honesty to her words, a vulnerability that drew me in. I felt a connection forming, something genuine and fragile, unlike anything I'd experienced on these apps before. One afternoon, a package arrived at my door. No return address, just my name handwritten on the label in an elegant looping script I immediately recognized as Lilith's. Inside, nestled in a bed of tissue paper, was a small ornate music box. It was old, the wood dark and polished, intricately carved with swirling patterns of vines and unseen faces. There was a delicate, almost invisible crack running along one side. No note, just the box. My heart pounded. It was such a strange, intimate gift, unsolicited and mysterious. I wondered what it meant, why she'd sent it. I placed it on my bedside table. Later that evening, a message popped up from Lilith. "Did it arrive?" she asked, her tone light, almost playful. "I found it in an old antique shop. It sang to me. I thought it might sing to you too." I wound the key, and a thin, reedy melody filled the room. It was beautiful, haunting, a tune that felt both familiar and utterly alien. I told her how much I loved it, how unique it was. She simply replied, "Some songs are meant to be heard, some echoes to be found." That night, as the music box played its ethereal tune, I felt a strange shift in the atmosphere of my apartment. It was subtle at first, almost imperceptible, a faint sense of presence, like someone was listening. I dismissed it as my imagination, an overactive response to the unsettling beauty of the music box, but the feeling persisted. The next few days brought more subtle oddities. I'd be in the living room and swear I heard the faint tinkle of the music box playing from the bedroom, even though I hadn't wound it. My phone would ring, a phantom vibration against my leg, only for the screen to show no incoming call. Whispers, barely audible, seemed to brush past my ears when I was alone, like secrets carried on a phantom breeze. Each time I'd shake my head, rationalizing it away. Sleep deprivation, stress, the lingering effects of too much coffee. Lilith, and I continued to chat, but her messages grew increasingly cryptic. She started talking about the echoes, about the spaces between, about the hollow places. She seemed to know things about me, not just what I'd shared, but deeper, unarticulated fears. "You carry a silence within you," she wrote one night. "I hear it. It cries out." A chill traced its way down my spine. Then came the voices. At first, they were whispers, indistinct and fleeting, like static on an old radio. But they grew clearer, more defined. They weren't my own thoughts. They were distinct, separate voices, sometimes a man's, sometimes a woman's, speaking in a language I didn't understand, yet somehow felt I should. They were always accompanied by the faint, distant sound of the music box's melody. I started leaving the music box open, even unwound, hoping to prevent the phantom tunes. It didn't work. The music would start on its own, a soft, persistent thrumming that vibrated through the air, even when the mechanism was clearly still. And as the music played, the voices grew louder, more insistent. They weren't speaking to me, not directly. They were speaking around me, fragments of conversations, sighs, muffled cries. It felt like I was listening to 100 different radio stations at once, all tuned to a hidden frequency that only I could hear. Sleep became a luxury. Every night the music box would play, and the echoes would fill my small apartment, transforming it into a chaotic symphony of unseen presences. I tried to cover the music box, to stuff it into a drawer, to even throw it away. But each time it would somehow reappear back on my bedside table, its intricate carvings seeming to mock my futile attempts to silence it. It was like an anchor, holding me fast to a current of unseen realities. My conversations with Lilith became less about getting to know each other, and more about her guidance. "Listen closely," she advised one evening. "The echoes tell a story. They tell your story. And mine." She spoke of the locket I'd found, of the woman who wore it, of the burdens it carried. It was as if she knew everything that had happened, or was happening, to me, even before I understood it myself. She was a guide, a disembodied voice in the growing cacophony, leading me deeper into a truth I wasn't sure I wanted to discover. One particularly disorienting morning, I woke to the voices louder than ever, speaking in frantic, overlapping tones. The music box was playing its melody, not softly but with a jarring, mechanical screech. I finally mustered the courage to open the box completely. Inside, nestled in the dark velvet, was not just the empty space, but a tiny folded piece of paper. My name was written on it again in Lilith's elegant script, and beneath it a single line. "The silence is the loudest echo." As I read the words, the music box slammed shut with a sharp click. The voices vanished. The apartment fell silent, a profound, heavy silence that pressed in on me from all sides. It wasn't a comforting quiet. It was the silence of a void, of an absence that was somehow more terrifying than the chaos that had preceded it. It was the sound of everything being taken away, the laughter, the whispers, the very fabric of my ordinary life. Lilith had said she was a collector of whispers, a believer in echoes. I realized with a horrifying clarity that I wasn't just a recipient of her strange gift. I was now part of her collection. The silence was indeed the loudest echo, reverberating through the hollow spaces of my very soul, leaving me truly, utterly, and terrifyingly alone in my once ordinary Oakwood apartment. My house in Willow Creek was a testament to conventional suburban dreams. A 2-story colonial with a perfectly manicured lawn, a 2-car garage, and a porch swing that never saw much action. It was quiet, respectable, utterly unremarkable. I'd moved here after years of city living, craving the calm, the predictability, the comforting drone of neighborhood normalcy. I was a freelance graphic designer, my world confined mostly to screens and deadlines. My social life, much like my energy levels, was in steady decline. So when the loneliness started to gnaw, I did what millions do. I turned to the dating apps, hoping to find someone, anyone, to share the quiet evenings with. Her name was Serafina. Her profile picture was an enigmatic black and white shot. Her face mostly in shadow, but her eyes, even in monochrome, held a deep, almost ancient wisdom. Her bio was a single line: "The past whispers, if you know how to listen." It was a little pretentious, I thought, but intriguing. It resonated with the subtle unease that had begun to creep into my life since the incident with the locket and the unsettling silence that had followed the music box. I felt a strange compulsion to connect with her, as if she held some key to the growing strangeness that permeated my days. I swiped right. A match. Our initial conversations were a strange dance. Serafina rarely spoke of herself. Instead, she seemed to speak to me, but not in the way a stranger usually does. She spoke of feelings I'd barely acknowledged, fleeting thoughts, half-formed anxieties. "You carry a weight," she'd message, "a resonance from what has been. Do you feel it?" It was unnerving, as if she could peel back the layers of my carefully constructed composure. She never asked for personal details, never pushed to meet. Our connection felt less like a burgeoning romance and more like a therapist's session, albeit one where the therapist knew more about me than I knew about myself. One cloudy Tuesday, a small, nondescript package appeared on my doorstep. No return address, just my name. Inside, nestled in crinkled newspaper, was a single, ancient-looking compass. It wasn't shiny or new. Its brass casing was tarnished, its glass face cracked, and the needle, when I picked it up, spun wildly, never settling on a direction. It felt strangely warm in my palm, almost pulsing with a faint internal hum. Later, Serafina messaged, "Did it find you? It doesn't point north, you see. It points to what's forgotten, to what's lost." My hand instinctively went to my chest, where the locket still lay, a cold, unyielding weight. I hadn't dared to remove it or even look inside since the previous terrors, and the silence in my apartment since the music box's final echo was a living, breathing thing, an oppressive void. From the moment the compass entered my home, the quiet of Willow Creek began to unravel. It started with disturbances in the Television. Static, not just white noise, but shifting patterns, almost like images trying to form, would flicker across the screen during shows. Then, the radio. It would switch stations on its own, landing on faint, crackling frequencies where I'd hear snippets of old songs, hushed conversations, and once a woman's desperate plea for help swallowed by static. My phone, too, would occasionally seize up, the screen filling with a chaotic burst of pixels, only to return to normal moments later, as if nothing had happened. The compass resting on my bedside table became my focus. When the static on the TV was particularly bad, the compass needle would vibrate erratically. When the radio crackled with phantom voices, the compass would grow warm, almost hot, beneath my touch. It wasn't pointing to north or south or any earthly direction. It was pointing to the disturbances, the glitches, the intrusions. It was a divining rod for the unseen. Serafina's messages intensified. "The past isn't truly gone," she wrote. "One night. It echoes, it resonates, and sometimes if the resonance is strong enough, it breaks through." She spoke of bleed-throughs, of temporal fractures, of energies that were trapped, unable to move on. She mentioned the locket and the music box, describing their effects with a chilling accuracy that solidified my terror. She wasn't just observing. She was experiencing it with me, or perhaps causing it. The intrusions escalated. My laptop, usually a reliable workhorse, began to display random, fleeting images. A faded photograph of a smiling man, a blurry shot of an old house, a woman's hand reaching out from shadow. These images would appear for a fraction of a second, often overlaid with a swirling vortex of digital static, before vanishing. It was like I was glimpsing fragments of someone else's life, someone else's suffering leaking into my reality through the cracks. The compass, whenever these occurrences happened, would spin violently, its needle a frantic blur. One evening I was alone in my living room, the television flickering with intense static, the radio hissing with unintelligible whispers. The compass in my hand was scalding hot. I gripped it, my knuckles white, a primal fear seizing me. As the static peaked on the TV, a faint image began to coalesce. A woman, her face contorted in agony, her eyes wide with terror. She was vaguely familiar, her dark hair and serene yet haunted expression mirroring the woman from my locket-induced dreams. She seemed to be trapped within the screen, struggling, trying to break free. Suddenly, Serafina's message popped up on my phone, her words almost perfectly timed with the terrifying image on the TV. "She is trying to tell you something," it read. "She's lost, she's reaching out. And you, with your open heart, your resonance, you are the only one who can hear her." My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drum against the encroaching static. The locket, a cold weight on my chest, began to vibrate, a low thrumming that matched the erratic pulse of the compass. I looked from the compass to the TV, then down at the locket. The pieces clicked into place, a terrifying mosaic of interconnected horrors. The dating app wasn't just a place to find connection, it was a conduit. Each object I received, each gift, was a tether, pulling me deeper into a reality where the boundaries between life and death, past and present, were dissolving. The locket, the music box, the compass. They were all artifacts of a single sprawling and horrifying narrative. And I, the ordinary man from Willow Creek, was now at its center, the unwitting receiver of these cursed transmissions. The image on the TV solidified. The woman was pointing, her finger trembling at a particular point in the static. A date flashing briefly, 1987. And then, her mouth opened, not in a scream, but in a silent, desperate plea. As her image faded, the static on the TV coalesced into a final, terrifying message, written in glowing, pixelated letters. "Find me." The compass in my hand went cold, its needle pointing directly at the silent television screen. The silence that followed was absolute, deeper and more profound than any I had experienced. It was the silence of a truth revealed, a horrifying certainty. I was not just connected to these spirits, I was being drawn into their unfinished business. And the compass, my final terrifying gift, was pointing me into the very heart of their forgotten anguish. Willow Creek, once a sanctuary of normalcy, had become a gateway to a terrifying past that refused to stay buried, and I, its newest resident, was now its unwilling, haunted keeper. And so, my friends, you have heard them. 3 tales, 3 encounters, 3 terrifying journeys into the digital abyss. These aren't just stories of cursed objects or ghostly apparitions. They are stories of connection, twisted and corrupted, of the human desire for belonging used as a key to unlock something far more ancient, far more insidious. Each protagonist reaching out for warmth found only a deeper chill, a colder truth. They survived, yes, but are they truly free? Or are they merely echoes, forever haunted by the static heart, the silent echoes, and the glitches in the smiles they once sought? The world isn't always what it seems, is it? Sometimes the most ordinary places, the most mundane actions can open doors to the unexplainable. Dr. Bonechill leaves you with this thought: the next time you swipe right, the next time you open a message from a stranger, ask yourself, truly ask yourself, what are you really inviting into your life? What hidden powers, what forgotten pasts might be waiting just beyond the screen? If these stories have left you with a lingering unease, if they've made you look a little differently at your own phone, then please hit that like button. It helps spread these unsettling truths to more people who need to hear them. And if you haven't already subscribed to Dr. Bonechill, we're building a community here, a safe space for those who dare to confront the darkness. And of course, comment your thoughts below. Share your own experiences, your own fears. Let's unravel the mysteries together, even if what we find leaves us with a lingering chill. Until next time, stay safe out there. And remember, sometimes, the greatest horror lies not in what we see but in what we feel, just beneath the surface waiting to be acknowledged.